My name is Andrew Coulson, and I'm chairing today's session on behalf of ICAEW Midlands. Just a few housekeeping bits and pieces to start with. It would be great if you keep your cameras on and put yourself on mute. I think most of you already are on mute, so that's fine. If you want to ask a question, there's a chat box at the bottom. I think in most versions of Zoom, it's in the middle, called chat. And what we'll endeavour to do is during the course of today's session to answer those questions as we go along. Is what we hope to try and do to make it as interactive for you as possible. The session, as you may or may not noticed, has been recorded. There will be a live transcript. If you wanted to ask a question verbally, your face and your name will show in the recording. If you don't want your name and face to be shown when you're asking a question, if you could please turn your camera off and change your name, your Zoom name, to initials only. That choice is very much your own. And the final point of housekeeping is that the recording and the slides will be sent to all attendees after this session, so you can get the most benefit out of what we're going to show today and what Ainsley is going to go through. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce Ainsley. As some of you may know, Ainsley is a qualified accountant and a former CEO of a multi-award-winning niche advisory accounting firm for entrepreneurs in the UK. Ainsley is now the CEO and founder of Clarity, business advisory platform that harnesses AI, machine learning, and blockchain, and uses the right combination of people, process, and tech to transform the business advisory services of accounting firms worldwide. He's advised thousands of businesses around the world and sits as an advisory board member on a number of companies and charities. Ainsley is considered one of the most influential accountants in the UK and has co-authored an international bestseller. All over to you, Ainsley. Take it away.
Thank you, Andrew, for that introduction, and good to see everybody. Today, we're going to be talking about effortless business advisory. I think the word business advisory has been probably bandied around and used a lot for a long period of time, and lots of people have different views of what business advisory means, have different views of what they're already doing and how that impacts the client's services, and potentially some people think, I don't know what this means. I don't know how I'm going to do this. I have no idea how I'm going to connect with my clients from this perspective. So hopefully today we will be able to give you a structure and a process to be able to deliver whatever we want to call business advisory. Some people might want to call it compliance plus. Some people might want to call it accounting 2.0. Some people will say to me, yes, we're doing all of this already, Ainsley, we may be just not charging for it, or maybe we're not doing it in a consistent and scalable way. So hopefully we'll get some ideas today how we as a firm can get more of the team involved in doing more business advisory work for more of our clients at a price point that's cost effective for the client, but in a way that's profitable for the firm and adds value to both the team from a retention and recruitment perspective, but also for the firm and for them to be able to become more scalable and successful. So Andrew's done an introduction. I left KPMG actually and joined a regional accounting firm in the UK. I took that from from compliance only to niche business advisory over a period of time, and I sold that in 2018 to Crow to focus more on Clarity going forward. We were very early adopters of cloud technology back in 2009, so I've probably tried every piece of kit that's out there, from both a automation, business improvement, practice improvement, and from an advisory perspective. And there's a lot of tools that are branded advisory, which are no issue with those tools. They do one element of the advisory, probably the reporting side more than anything else. But I can understand and see why firms would struggle to implement and to be able to commercialize and make that work for them across the board. So we'll look at some of the reasons why that is and what we can do about it going forward. So enough about me. Let's crack on. I think it's really important to, I suppose, put a stake in the ground. The world has changed dramatically over the last 2 years. I mean, it's been changing rapidly for us as accountants. And sorry, by the way, when I say we and us, I'm still a chartered accountant, so I still feel part of the club So I mightn't have a practicing cert anymore, but I regularly say we and us. So that's coming from wanting to be still part of the club. You know, we've had a lot of changes over the last 5, 10, 15 years, you know, from both regulatory, from movement in technology, from everything else that's going on in the accounting world. We were probably told and kind of scared maybe along 20 years ago plus that, you know, compliance was dead and we needed to move from compliance to advisory. And I think potentially we may have thought that the world was going to be moving a lot further faster than it did. Now it's moved in different ways. And I think that's probably just life. But certainly we've been constantly looking at challenges over the last 10, 15 years. But I think that's probably accelerated over the last 2. And I know certainly accountants that I speak to are saying, like, it's overwhelmed with tsunami, can't keep up, can't get the team, can't keep the existing team, can't get new team. We're swamped in compliance. We can't move further forward. Clients are screaming at us, and we're just always under the cosh. And I think some of the things that hopefully we can cover today, we're not going to go into depth on those unfortunately, but maybe I can just share some home truths that might help, depending on how receptive you are to hearing something from a different perspective. I, as an accountant, and having been there and lectured at by influencers and vendors and you name it for the last X number of years, I'm not here to lecture anybody today. I'm hopefully going to give you just a different perspective, make you aware of some things that are coming from a different perspective. What you want to do with that is entirely up to you. I might show you a way, but it's not the only way. And certainly I'm not arrogant enough to think that I know everything. So please, if I come across sometimes as a bit passionate and excitable, that's coming from a place of knowing that accountants are best placed to be able to help small business owners make a dramatic shift, and knowing that we've got the power to be able to do that. So it's not coming from a place of you must do it or you must do it this way. So every firm is different and every firm has different clients. So let's see what we can do to deliver what our clients are looking for in a way that works for us. Sorry, we're going backwards on slides. It's also important that, you know, so much is happening. We need to be aware of what's going to happen in the next 2 to 5 years for our clients. We've had, you know, pandemic followed by a cost of living crisis, followed by markets in free fall. I mean, it's just constant at the moment. We're actually that safe space. And I think we're seeing a lot of accountants that are there, again, supporting their clients even more, but now it needs to be done in a slightly different way. Rather than applying for government stimulus or furlough schemes, we're looking to actually understand and help our clients how they can navigate this constant chaos that's going on in the world at the moment. Now, some really quick summary to get going from a business owner perspective. Small businesses are absolutely colossal in the UK. They represent 99.9% of all businesses. They contribute to 60% of all private sector employment and over 50% of private sector GDP. So small business is absolutely colossal, and they are screaming out for help. I think it's possibly a British thing that they may not be asking specifically for your help, but they are asking for help, and they're asking others around you for the help that either you can give them, or they're talking to others about the help that you're not giving them because they may not be specifically asking you. Now, there's been lots of surveys done on what they're looking for help with. These are a combination of surveys that we've seen from Australia, New Zealand, from the US, and from the UK, from various different sources, and we've brought them together. And you know, the top 3 things that we're constantly being told that small business owners are looking for is help with understanding their numbers. So we all get that. In fact, it's not just small business owners that need help with understanding their numbers. It's business people in general don't get numbers. They don't get percentages, and they don't understand or are able to read a set of accounts or understand the language of business, as Warren Buffett calls it, which is accounting. So we're fluent in that language. We get it inherently. We've probably gone into accounting because we have an inherent ability with numbers. So that's quite a rare skill set in the marketplace. And we possibly undervalue our ability to understand numbers, and we probably overestimate our clients' abilities to understand numbers. So this is something that we really need to, I suppose, take on board and be able to help our clients really get to the bottom of what's going on within their business and what the numbers are telling them about their business. Responding quickly to queries and to everything else is 74%, is quite a high number. Now, we know this because the world is moving faster and faster and faster and faster. In practice, I was sick of clients bringing me up and saying, I sent you an email this morning, for example. Yes, thank you. I got that email. But the expectation nowadays is a much, much quicker and faster response time. And we need to just accept that. There's no point railing against it. We've just got to understand that people are looking for a faster and faster response. And it's interesting actually to see some of the out of office messages that I sometimes get from accountants. I think just as a pure, just an aside, I think you might want to, if you do have an out of office, which basically says I'll respond to you when I get to it, and I've got very busy with lots of meetings, you might need to just rephrase that more from a client's perspective rather than from your own perspective. It's quite scary what we see. And the last one is being a trusted advisor, 78%. Now, this is a horrible nebulous term. We all hear it all the time, but can we just translate and scratch through trusted advisor and just call that an intelligent friend? I think that also is important for the team because it comes from a very different angle and it sets a very different set of expectations when we call it an intelligent friend. Being a trusted advisor, sometimes our team feel that they need to be the experts, the gurus, need to know all the answers, and they're afraid of having conversations because they don't know all the answers. In business, we can't know all the answers. It's impossible. So we can only take action, see what happens, and then either double down on that if it's working well. If it's not, try and understand why it hasn't, and either change or stop what we're doing. So nobody can know in advance what's going to work or what's not going to work. So we need to take that, I suppose, scariness off the shoulders of our team and say that we don't need to be the experts and the gurus. We need to be that intelligent friend, offering that safe space for our clients to be able to have conversations, to be able to ask decent questions, and to be able to hold them to account, because that's probably one of the greatest things that we can do for our clients. Those that take action achieve success, and obviously measured and monitored. But generally, the difference between business owners that do well and those that don't is the ones that do well get stuff done. They take action and they're fast at taking action and they're constantly taking action. Sometimes they don't take action because they're afraid. They're afraid of failure. They're afraid of the unknown. We can help take that fear away by helping them with better planning, with better understanding of their numbers and better analysis and ongoing support about what's happening in their business and whether it's working or not. So really, really important that we, I suppose, not be the heroes of our story, but we make the clients the heroes. We're the guides. And I think if we take that off the shoulders of our team, it makes it a little bit more easy for us as well. Now, interestingly, we know in the UK, and it's actually, this is worldwide, these numbers, but let's look at the UK is closer to 60% rather than that 50%. 60% of businesses are failing within the first 5 years. And when we go out to 10 years, it's harder to find that data, but anecdotally, anywhere between 70 to 90% of businesses fail within 10 years. Now, that's pre-pandemic. Those numbers are going to probably change quite dramatically in the next couple of years. And it would be interesting to see, as accountants with experts in numbers and being able to help clients, do you see that as an obligation or do you see that as an opportunity, or both? So it'd be good. You're all on here. As Andrew said, it's nicer than just talking to a wall. If people get involved, I've been doing workshops the last couple of days in York, so I have been able to stand at tables and not move on until somebody speaks. I can't do this on Zoom, but it would be good if people interact to ask questions. Yeah,
I've just got something that might be useful, setting from some slides I've seen from Zero in the past. You got this quite high, I guess it links to with the opportunity question you've got there, is that these statistics change dramatically with trusted advisor CFO support from their accountant, where they come down quite significantly, don't they, if I remember right?
100%.
Pretty works well. Hopefully I'm stealing your thunder, but
no, completely right. And I think the challenge we have is that from an advisory perspective, we've tended to deliver advisory inherently, either structured inherently or just by fluke to our top 10% of 5-10% of clients. They pay us good money. We spend a lot of time with them. We're able to chat to them. We understand the issues and challenges, and we're there to support and help them. And whether we charge them or not, we're giving them business advisory support. And that's CFO support and VFD support and whatever we want to call that, through strategic planning, financial modeling, being on their board. All those things have a dramatic impact and effect on the business. And studies show in the US actually that those that have written goals that are held accountable achieve 78% more. Now, that's quite staggering numbers. I think from my firm perspective, it was about 100% more. And from what I'm seeing with our members, it's more than 100%. But even if we go with that US study of 78%, that's quite a significant improvement in that client's business. So by being there and helping them understand what they need to be doing and then keeping them to account has a massive impact on that business. It's not rocket science, it's not magic, it's just doing simple things that help the client take action and measuring and monitoring what's happening on an ongoing basis and being able to help them move forward. Now, we can do that as a CFO service from a high level perspective. What we need to be looking at is how we can do that en masse using technology and systems and processes to be able to get out to more small business owners and do that in a way that's cost effective and scalable for us. So that the CFO service is great for 1, 2, 3, 4 people in a firm or for the really senior leadership in a firm. But when we want to try and scale that rapidly, it's an impossible service to scale. I tried to do it in my firm. I created a monster effectively at Table. It was difficult to resource. It was expensive. It was high level work that needed expensive animals to be able to deliver it. And therefore it was expensive service. And it was hard to resource that on an ongoing basis because I wasn't a KPMG. I wasn't a Deloitte. And also trying to deliver it to small business owners cost effectively is quite a challenge. So we need to look at, okay, so CFO services are really, really helpful. How do we do that on a way that actually helps more of our clients a traditional accounting firm I'm talking about here, not a niche CFO firm. Indeed. Fantastic. So what do we think as accountants in the room? Do we think we have an obligation to help these clients? Do we think it's an opportunity to help these clients? Or do we think it's both? So if you could just drop in the chat, both or obligation or opportunity, that would be quite good. And nobody's going to take part, I'm sure. I can see one person smirking at me, so they might just feel sorry for me and put something in the chat. Oh, we got something coming through. Good. Both opportunity. Fantastic. Okay, thanks. Appreciate it. Thank you. I think I kind of mentioned this earlier. This is about how do we combine the right people, the right process, and the right technology. It's not any one of these. We can't use technology, and anybody that tells you technology is a silver bullet is telling you untruths. It's a people-to-people business, but we do need technology to do that heavy lifting to be able to get out to more people quicker and faster. But it also needs great people, and it needs systems and processes around it to make sure the team are doing it in a systematic way. So just a kind of a nod to that, really. From your perspective, and again, trying to get you involved today, why hasn't advisory worked, or why hasn't advisory worked for you? Why haven't you tried advisory in the past? Or if you've tried advisory and it hasn't scaled, why do you think that's what issues and challenges are you stopping you giving advisory to 100% of your clients? So if you could have some people, you can hop off and jump in and shout at me, or you can type in the chat, whichever makes sense. We've got a very quiet bunch, Andrew.
We have indeed, haven't they?
Expectations gap. And are we thinking that's from the client perspective or from our perspective, or both? Lack of resources, client perspective. Yeah. Is that clients don't get it? They want too much, they don't want to pay for it? I presume I'm putting words in your mouth. Cost as far as the client is concerned, yep. Okay, thanks for getting involved. We've got some pre-prepared answers, as you can probably imagine, on the screen. And I don't think what I'm going to share with you is anything that you've not heard before, and not anything that you would have said. We're firstly hearing a lot about a lack of structure. So if we think about it from an accounts production perspective, from VAT returns, from payroll, we have the structures and systems in place to be able to deliver that work. But from an advisory perspective, it just isn't there. So we lack that structure to be able to make sure that more of the team can get involved. Lack of time. We hear a lot. Yeah, that's great, Ainsley. And I used to hear that in when I was a business owner myself. Or sorry, an accountant talking to business owners. It would be, yeah, that's great, Ainsley. You don't understand. It's different for us. We just don't have the time. I defy anybody here that says I've never said I don't have the time in this room. I think we all know, and let's just call that one out, is that we've got all the time we're ever going to get. We're never going to get any more time. However long or short our life is, we have all the time we're going to get. And so it's what we choose to do with that time that's really, really critical and important. And the most reasons, I suppose, aside from just general time management, which are just beyond the remit of this event, the biggest challenges we have in accounting firms from a time perspective is we are either over engineering the compliance function. We've got too many of the wrong clients in our firm, too many D's and E's that we probably shouldn't be dealing with, that are sucking our resources, stealing the time from our team and from us, and we're not able to deal with our better clients in a better way. So it's also potentially not having the right team on the bus as well. We need to understand where our time is going and just stop it. We need to protect our time and be ruthless in only doing the things that are going to get us to where we need to get to. Lack of resources, we also hear quite a lot. Yeah, that's fine, Ainsley, but we don't have the team, or we don't have the systems and processes to be able to do this, and so it's not possible to scale. Lack of confidence, we hear a lot as well. And I think I think we again need to accept that as accountants, we suffer a lot from imposter syndrome. I'm not good enough. I couldn't possibly do this. What if I don't know all the answers, etc. So we do need to, I suppose, understand and get our team to understand that they have all the training, the inherent abilities, the resources, the knowledge that's needed from a small business owner's perspective. So we're not talking big business here. We're talking small business owners. We have all of that inbuilt within us. It's about unleashing that and being able to help our clients and get the team to understand that they've already got it. So the other one we hear a lot is overwhelmed with compliance. We've talked about that. Oops. Slides are going crazy here. Oh, it's obviously a full flaw here. The elephant in the room is obviously trying to jump in, seriously jump in here. That other one that was missing that keeps skipping past was clients don't get it. And that's that point that we've seen in the chat. So clients don't want to pay for it, they don't get it, they don't understand it. Now, we're not even able to get them together. The big, I suppose, issue and the elephant in that room is the fear within the accounting firm as well. So fear of failure, just like we've talked earlier, fear of the unknown, fear of asking for more money, fear of the client saying, why are you doing it now? Why haven't you done it before? It just goes on. The list is there where we've got to overcome this. And it's done by baby steps, having a plan and doing baby steps. A lot of times we're afraid because we're looking to roll out advisory, or we're looking to do a project for our entire client base or for large chunks of our client base. This is always about taking a first step and a baby step and taking the next step and the next step and the next step. And if we look at the bigger picture, sometimes it's too big, too overwhelming. We'd be told that accountants can change the world. Well, yeah, we can, but that's a big thing to do. So let's just look at maybe taking the next step rather than trying to reach the end game. So acknowledging that fear, accepting it, and being able to move forward is really, really, really critical. Now, this question about what is business advisory, I think it goes around and round in circles. I'm going to give you a structure here today that is what I believe a really good way to deliver business advisory services, or compliance plus, or accounting 2.0, whatever we want to call it, in a structured way that plays to the strengths of accountants, that actually does what business owners need them to do as well. So again, I'm not dictatorial. It's not the only way. It's just a way to be able to deliver business advisory, however we want to call it, to our clients. And quite simply, it's helping our clients understand where they are now, helping them understand where they could get to, understanding the shifts that are required to get from A to B, creating a plan to close the gap, and then measuring and monitoring results versus the plan. It's no more complicated than that. And nothing in here is beyond the ability of any of our team. Generally, if they can talk to a client, they can do this. Now, the challenges that we've seen in the past, and there's some big issues here, is that mostly we jump to the end game here, and we talk about measuring and monitoring the results, or maybe we talk about creating a plan. The reality is our clients don't get numbers. So if we give them a plan with numbers, they don't know what they need to do to make the plan come true. So it is in effect waste of time and useless, because that small business owner doesn't get that plan. And if we're constantly trying to flog them KPI dashboards, management reporting, cash flow forecasting, it's hard to sell, because the client has no idea what they're about, how they're going to help them, why they might need them, and therefore we're always struggling. And when clients don't get it and we're flogging them KPI dashboards and management reporting, they're thinking, And how much am I paying you? Is that not already included? My God, you're kidding. What's that going to do for me? Whatever other thing we might hear, the reason why they're saying no is because we're coming at it from the wrong perspective or the wrong angle. We need to take them with us so that they know what we can do, the value that we can create before we can start flogging them stuff. The other big challenge is that we hear in business often that's like, oh, advisory is like sat nav for business. You plug in point A and you plug in point B, you plot a route from A to B, and then you just see how you're doing on or off course and help the client correct. The sad part is that most clients don't, well, they probably don't even know where point A is, let's be honest. But in reality, they never know where point B is. They don't have time to think, to step out of their business, to take a step back and to understand what's possible, where could they go, how long is it going to take them. They might not even know why they might need to move from where they currently are. So it's really important that we take this client with us along a journey rather than just jumping straight through to solution. We know that management reporting is important and we know that planning is important. I'm not saying they're not important. I'm just saying that we need to take the client with us to help them understand why we're putting these in place rather than just going straight through to solution. Again, we're great problem solvers. We understand what the end game is, but we need to help our clients understand that along the way. And so when clients don't get it, it's generally because we've just left them behind and they don't understand the value we can deliver. Within Clarity, we use the 7 key numbers that every business owner should know. So whether we're simplifying the numbers for the clients, simplifying it for the team as well, in effect. We look at how we can help the clients understand what's possible and where they could get to. We look at that sensitivity analysis and critical thinking on that gap so that they understand which areas are going to have the biggest impact on their business and where they need to be focusing on. We then look at creating different types of plans, starting with an action plan. So when we start with that action plan that we co-create with a client and get a client to effectively build for us, we're able to help them understand what they need to do to make the numbers come true. And from there, we can build the financial plans that we can help keep score. So we're good at keeping score, seeing if they're on or off track, and then being able to help them understand what's working, what's not working, and what they need to do differently. And finally, it's about that continuous improvement and monitoring with them to be able to help them understand what's working and how they can do it better. Does that make sense? Is that simplifying it for anybody? We might just have awkward silence and stay here for 5 minutes.
I think it's always good to make advisory simple, isn't it? It gives confidence to those that haven't done much advisory before, or to team members that are new to it. When you sort of break it down the way you have here, Ains, you start to realize how you really can be confident in doing these things, can't you?
Well, I think as accountants, we are desperate to show the value. And so I think there's this inherent necessity to complicate things because we want to show, oh my God, we can do this, 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 and this, and this is how good we are. And I think we need to understand less is more. And that sometimes, like business is complex as it is, our clients are overwhelmed. They're, flapping on bills and how am I going to pay the rent or the VAT bill or whatever. And their heads are in the sand sometimes. And we just need to understand that sometimes it's less is more and that we need to simplify rather than throw more complexity in here. And what we're doing here for the team and for the client is simplifying things and making it not cookie cutting. I think that's unfair to say this is cookie cutting, but it's doing it in a way that makes sense to both. And we often, Andrew, as we say here, people say, well, that's all very well, and say that's great in theory, you're talking this, but can we actually see how this would apply in practice? And I think today we are going to, like, I'm more about education than sales, but I do that possibly at the detriment to people. So what we are going to do today, and we've talked with Andrew and the ICAEW, is show you practically what this means in practice and how it works and how it can be done by the team and how effectively and efficiently it can be done. So we will get on to, sorry, if everyone's going, yeah, Ainsley, that's fine, but that's theory. How do we do this? Then we will get to the how do we do this and how can we do it in a way that actually makes sense for the clients. I think what we do want to cover today is that reporting by itself is not business advisory. So you have been told in the past, probably by vendors, to send out, and again, I'm not being critical of them because those tools are really helpful and they serve a purpose for a particular element of what we need to do from a business advisory angle. But if you're wanging out reports to all your clients, no matter how pretty they look, It's not business advisory. The clients don't get it. And unless we're sitting down with them and walking them through these reports, it is again a waste of your time. So just stop it. He said, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm telling you what to do. Well, I'm just saying, from my perspective, it's a waste of time. If you're just going to wang out pretty reports to your clients without actually sitting down and talking to them and understanding why they might need them in the first place, then I don't think it's going to help. And what we tended to find, because we used to do that in the early days, we tended to find that clients would go, that looks nice. And you might talk to a few of them about it, or they might ring up and ask questions about it. And then like month 3, it's, how much is this costing me? Can you just stop it? Because they know it's a cost regardless. So please just stop it. So we need to get out of the habit of just reporting for report's sake.
I think as well, Ainsley, you find that if you give it like some of these 20-page glossy reports you can do these days, but you don't follow that up with discussion, chances are clients are probably looking at best one out of the 20 pages. You lose the value proposition.
Yep. Andrew, I think they probably don't even look at the one page because they are probably busy. They get an email in, or it comes in the post, and it goes into the pile.
I was being generous.
Yeah, and that pile, you know what happens? More stuff goes on that pile, and that pile never gets, that bottom of the pile never gets looked at. So I think that's the reality, unfortunately. Indeed. So I think, if you're not having conversations about management accounts, stop it. If you're not having conversations about reports, just stop it. And if you're worried that you're not having the time to deal with clients, then just stop sending out reports and start speaking to more clients, I think is the thing. We tend to find as well that our accountants are saying a lot to us. This is about less advice and more questions. And I think that's probably a good mantra to have in your firm. So less advice, more questions. And I think that's really, really helpful from a client's perspective too. And again, it takes the pressure off the team. They don't need to be the gurus. They don't need to be the experts. They just need to ask good questions. Now, from an advisory perspective, what we've done is broken it down into 5 different levels, because I think a lot of people as well think, oh my God, I couldn't possibly do this. I'm not a consultant. I'm not a management guru. I couldn't do business advisory. Well, that's just one element of business advisory. There are lots of steps along the way that are hugely valuable for clients that will be appropriate to different clients at different sizes and different life cycles, that we can get more of the team involved. So taking the pressure off the leadership team. And what we've done at Clarity is we productized each of these areas so that firms can deliver service lines across the board around each of these 5 areas, so that they can, if they want to, they can just offer some of the lower service lines across the board. They don't need to necessarily get into that consulting or up into that top level of business advisory. And in fact, the market there is so small anyway, that studies by Zero did in Canada show that firms that did repeatable, scalable advisory had higher average fee per client and higher earnings than firms that focused on bespoke advisory. And that makes sense because you're doing more advisory for more people. So it's important that we don't necessarily overcomplicate again, as we we're talking about. It's about simplification. And sometimes clients will take smaller services from us because they get it and they understand it. So it's about how we can help the client in a way that makes sense for both us and for them. Fantastic. And with Clarity, we've created that end-to-end advisory solution. So helping clients, firms identify the clients to start having conversations with first off. It's not just about, oh my God, let's go to all of our clients, or let's go to our top clients, or ignore the bottom clients. It's about working out who in the firm needs to be having what conversations with what clients. We also help firms connect with their clients with a complete go-to-market strategy. So we know that accounting firms are busy. They've struggled with commercializing business advisory in the past. So we've productized, we've priced it, we've shown them how to market it and deliver it to accounting firms, and also do it in a way that's engaging. This is about bridging the communication gap. Accountants speak different language to business owners, and it's doing this in a way that's actually visual and the clients get it. A whole way to deliver business advisory, that's using technology properly and leveraging the power of technology, giving the team the stuff that they need to be able to do to spend time doing what they need to be doing from a conversational perspective, and then an ability to manage the whole process as well. So let's dive in, Andrew, so that we can see how that's operating in practice rather than, again, just the theory that we often do. Does anybody have any questions whilst we're taking this kind of tech swap break? Does it make sense to everybody? Anybody disagree? No. I'll take the stunning silence as an acknowledgement that this is fantastic and that everybody's on board and it makes sense. Cool. First stage from a clarity perspective, we've got a view of our portfolio. So we can see all of our clients in one screen and we can understand how the data, how they're performing across 7 key metrics, which are across P&L, balance sheet, cash, and efficiency. So giving effectively a holistic view of the business. I've got dummy data here, so it's a mishmash. So just go with my dummy data. And I've selected that period because it's the best for my dummy data. As we've been moving along, obviously, as you'd expect within here, we can quickly sort and find out who's doing great from a revenue growth perspective, who's not, who's struggling from a cash perspective. We can understand who's performing well, who's not, and who might need conversations. We might also see who needs funding quite quickly here and who's struggling from a business return perspective. So like who probably be better putting the money in the bank rather than running their business. So it gives you a high level view of what's going on in your clients. You're able to put in your own data tags to be able to filter this data too, but you can filter it on the basis of sector, city, location, etc. So again, you can effectively benchmark within your client base here. So really great ability to drill into the data and see what's happening and to be able to see where clients are doing well and who's doing well and who's not. Interestingly as well, here at the click of a button, we can quickly see if we make say a 10% improvement, the clients make a 10% improvement across the board. We can see revised key numbers here, but more importantly, let's just get my cameras out of the way, we can see the potential profit and cash improvement. So again, if we do a data sort here, we can see who's got the best profit improvement and who we might need to be having conversations with rapidly. And also it gives us an understanding, the higher the number, the more senior the member of the team that needs to be having that conversation. So we have that ability to see who we should be speaking to quickly and getting in touch with them. And we can do that as well in a very simple way with clarity. This is sending out a report, yes, but it's a report for a specific purpose. This is about getting a meeting. So we find that our clients so that accountants are sending this out. So it's very, he says, quick, waiting for broadband to download. A very simple report basically showing clients what the potential profit and cash improvement is, telling them how we've arrived at that number, and it's all about getting that meeting in the diary. So we've been thinking about you, we've crunched your numbers, we think you're leaving potentially 67K on the table, can we have a meeting to go through it? And for those clients that need a little bit more detail, there's a little bit more detail about how it's derived, how it's broken down, and giving them simple things that they can do to actually start hitting the ground running on that quite quickly. So we find that firms that use this en masse are getting meeting conversion rates of about 50 to 60%, 70% with follow-up. If this is done in video format, it is probably an 80% conversion. And if this is done face-to-face in a meeting for maybe a year-end set of accounts, and we just say, oh, can I just show you something? Those meetings tend to be 100%. Now, the reason that is because you're saying to a small business owner, who you're their expert in numbers, and you're saying to them, I've been thinking about you, I've crunched your numbers, I think you're leaving money on the table, can we have a meeting to discuss it? I think most business owners are going to be interested in what you've got to say. They may not believe you, but they're certainly going to want to have a meeting with you and not go, oh no, I don't want to talk about that. So it's again simplifying what information we're giving to be able to generate that meeting. More importantly, when we start having a conversation with the client, and let's get into a client file, we can see here quite clearly, we're about where are you now, where could you get to, the shifts required to get from A to B, creating a plan to close the gap, and then measuring and monitoring results versus the plan. This kind of can be a high level agenda for the clients, and we can use this to navigate our way around as well. From a firm perspective, we can understand, the team can understand what they need to be doing at each of these areas as well. So it's not just, again, theory, this is about practical steps that the team need to be doing to be able to make sure they're looking after the clients in each of these 5 areas. Within Clarity, we have built service maps. So when we're trying to understand how are the team going to deliver business advisory, basically on the basis of the 5 different service line or areas of business advisory that we've then productized, we've created a service map to show the team what they need to be doing each month to be able to make this happen. Now, all of this is fully editable, so we're giving you an out-of-the-box solution. You can take it and go with it, or you can take it, trial it, and then tweak it and make it your own. but certainly there's a flexibility within Clarity to be able to bring your own IP to play and make everything your own. All the templates that I'm showing you are fully customizable for colors, for content, so within the firm. Now, this isn't for sharing with the clients. This is just a workflow for the team. So they're knowing what they're doing. If they're delivering planning, what are they doing month on month on month? For example, if they're doing insights, what are they doing for insights? It's kind of a shorter, smaller service line. And again, in here, we've got another one, which is accountability, which is stripping that back again for that client. So the team know what they're doing. And effectively, all these areas are hyperlinked as well. So we have an agenda system for the clients, for accounting firms. So we have compliance agendas. You might think, why on earth do we have compliance agendas? Well, it's compliance plus. So whatever we want to call advisory, it is compliance plus, and compliance is the starting point to get the clients in the door and to start having better conversations about their numbers. And effectively, we've taken the agenda system here from what I used to in my accounting firms, so the pre and post year end meetings. But we also used to have a system when we were doing the accounts to be able to show the value that we were doing from compliance with a before, during, and after call system. So it's all in there. But if we're looking at, say, the advisory agendas, we've built, and in all of them, we've built one for client use and one for the team use. For the client use, it's very simple. The agenda that you would expect, it's that bullet pointed agenda that we can cancel. So bullet pointed agenda that you would expect. So your logo, your colors, and then these are the things we're going to cover. And it's very important to Clarity that we help you with end times. Again, keeping the clients on point, and not letting meetings overrun, and not having scope creep, and getting them used to how you want to meet. For the team, it's a much more detailed agenda. So we have an education platform for the team members, so they know, how to speak to a client, how to have a meeting, how to make a sale, etc., etc. But if they get stuck in a meeting, there's always a hand hold, their hand held, I suppose, so that they're able to understand what they're doing at each of these areas, what questions they need to ask. If the client says this, do this. So again, it's a lot of detail. You can strip this out if it's too much for your team. Maybe use this as a resource and give them a simpler agenda, or more bullet pointed. It's up to you how you want to be able to do this. But again, it's giving the team the confidence, and it's taking away the scariness of having a meeting, and making sure that all the meetings run the same way, so that clients are getting consistent meetings and that all clients are getting the same meetings. So those are kind of ways that we help the team create that repeatable, structured advisory perspective. Now, from a quick client, where are we now? So this is on the journey is like, where are they now? We're looking at a very simple view of the business, holistic, but simple view. We can flip the tiles around and we can see where the numbers have been calculated. If the client says, oh, that can't be true, we can see how it's been calculated, where the numbers and data has been pulled from. And again, we can see trend analysis over the last 3 years. So we can see maybe with COVID, we might have a dip here. So we might be getting back to last year. We might be going back 2 years, for example. So it gives us a little bit more picture of the business. So we can see those and talk to the client. We're probably going to be spending 5-10 minutes here with the client in an initial meeting, just putting that stake in the ground. It's more important for us to be able to talk to the clients about what's possible in their business. So again, here, it's very simple sensitivity and what if analysis. So I think my last call was with an Aussie, so it's Aussie dollars, but it works in any currency. What we're looking at here is it's a 70% run rate. So we're saying to the client something very simple, like, if you could do 70% again this year, this is what it would look like from a profit and cash perspective. And the client's going to say something like the lines of, oh, well, actually, we got lands for 600K, Ainsley, or, you're kidding me, it's COVID, we'll be lucky to do 5, 10, 15%. But all we're doing here is basically stretching the client. I've got some firms that actually go the other way and say, like, what's happening at the moment, you are going to be losing 10%. And that's what's going to have an impact on your business. So what are we going to do to be able to stop that? So it's really dependent on the type of clients and what's going on, whether you go positive or you go negative. GP, well, we were down 4 percentage points on the last year. So could we get back to where we were? Might be a conversation point. So effectively, all we're doing here is going down and asking questions, seeing what the data is telling us, seeing what the trends are telling us, and just saying to the client what's possible. And if the client doesn't know, because they might say, I don't, Ainsley, what do you think? Well, it's like, well, anybody can do 1, 2, 3, 4%. So what's 5% look like? What's 10% look like? And effectively, we're showing them simply what those things can do to their bottom line. Now, at this point, we're doing part of the sale process. So we're going to be saying to the clients things like, do you want this number? What do you think about this? Does this excite you? Do you think it's achievable? because we need them to understand and believe this is achievable. If it's not, we need to go back and change the numbers so that they believe it's achievable. And then we need to understand what they're going to spend that on. So what difference does that make to the business? So what would you spend this 136K on? Would you buy more plant? What would that do to the business? What impact would that have on the bottom line going forward? What would you do personally? You know, are we looking to pay off mortgages? Are we looking to pay off school fees? Are we looking to buy cars or holidays? Or what's driving you in your business, so that we can understand why they're in business, to be able to hold them account going forward. But also, if they don't move forward with us, we can remind them in 3 months' time, when we see that they haven't moved, why they may, you know, hang on a sec, I thought you wanted to pay off that mortgage and you're now 3 months behind. Let's see how we can help you move that forward. Again, clients are probably going to say, well, yeah, that's exciting, Ainsley, all very well in theory. How do we do that? Within Clarity, we help you start and co-create an action plan with the client. So this is very simple things that the client can do to be able to move forward. Again, the team don't need to know all the answers here. And certainly in advance, at a free meeting, you may only want to go through the deck that I've just picked. I just picked the template simplified action plan because it's a free meeting. This is going to be 15 minutes of work. I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to have to think about it. I'm just going to say to the client, is brainstorming ways to sell more to existing customers a good idea for you? Yes or no? And the client's going to say, hopefully, yes. If they say no, that's fine. No, I don't. I've got an external marketing firm, so I don't need to do that. What about price increases? Yes, I'd like to understand that. Could you help me with that? Of course we could. Mapping sales? No, I'm not interested. Yep, building a plan. You can edit these, you can add your own, you can create more niche decks, complicated decks, more strategic planning decks if you want to. But again, here for the team, it's giving them the system and the structure and the process and the confidence to be able to have this meeting. And we've had younger team members who've been afraid to say, ask the marketing question because they don't know much about marketing. And then they understand that the client's not expecting them to know about marketing. It's about what are we going to do together to put in place a plan. And it might be we engage a marketing consultant, for example. Of course, if the client says I could do X, Y, Z, yeah, absolutely. Of course, you could do that too. That's a great idea. So we get the idea here. It's just about simple cards. Again, none of the things in here that we pre-built are complicated. They're not beyond the team's ability to have that conversation. And generally as well, we find this is a great area about how we can help. So you can start cross-selling, and this is how you as a firm can help. So how you can start cross-selling your other services, so wealth management or estate planning or tax planning or whatever else you've got going on here, management reporting, take the bookkeeping off your hands, tax planning, etc., etc. And just a quick step in the way, we have a prioritization canvas here so that we can get the clients focusing on what they need to be doing in the next month, rather than just having a long to-do list. And effectively, we bring here at this point into our action plan. And this is our action hub. And this is a hub that we keep up to date on an ongoing basis with the client. So we help them understand all the tasks are in here, and we can flesh these out and spend a lot of time on them on here. But again, we're focusing just on priorities. And what we're doing here is saying who is going to do this task and when are they going to do it by? So we're bringing focus, responsibility, and accountability to the fore, so that the clients are understanding what they need to be doing in the next 30 days between the next time they meet us effectively. And I would then be saying to you can put a mood board in here so the client's aware of what this 136K is. You can give them access and let them tick off the tasks themselves. I wouldn't do it because it's a really good control for you at the start and end of every meeting to reiterate what they were doing, what they did supposed to do. Did they do it? Didn't they do it? Why didn't they do it? Is it a priority? Should we bring in another priority, etc.? And so rather than them having it ticked off, it's much easier for you to give that control during those monthly meetings that are agended effectively. And if at this point, I'd probably be saying to the client of that free meeting, you know, I'd love to work with you to help you get this additional 136K. How does that sound? And the client's probably going to say something along the lines of, that's interesting. What does that involve, Ainsley? And I'd be saying, well, at this level of profitability, I would be suggesting our planning service line, which means that in month one, we'll build out that action plan in way more detail with you. So you know what you need to be doing to be hitting these numbers every month. Then on month two, we're going to build a financial plan. So we're going to break this annual target down into 12 monthly goals. So we know what you need to be hitting on a monthly basis so that we can see if you're on or off track and try and get to the bottom of why you might be on or off track. And then we're going to check that from a cash flow perspective to ensure that the business model makes sense and that if you need funding, that we get funding in advance in the right time so we're not struggling from a cash perspective. And then we're going to meet you monthly to be able to help you understand your numbers, what's working, what's not working, keep you to account, and help you focus on driving the business forward to help you get towards this 136K. How does that sound? And generally the client's going at this stage, well, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Thank you. How much is that going to cost? And then we can have that conversation as to what we're going to charge here. Because value pricing comes into play quite a lot with this visual way of bringing a client with us, I would probably be looking to, at this client, to charge them 1,200 quid a month to help them get that 136K. And because that juxtaposition for the client is easy for them to say, that's sensible, that makes sense, I get it, that value sounds good. It's generally an easy yes or no conversation. We have training for the team to be able to help them understand if the client says, no, you're kidding me, isn't that already included? There's no way I'm paying that, etc., etc. We have the ability for you to be able to deal with those, to understand this is a value issue that they don't get, or is it an affordability issue? And then maybe we offer a different service line that they feel is more valuable. I had an event on Wednesday, and we actually went around the room, and the number of people that say that small business owners, like, I don't want to freak anybody out in advance here because the client's going to automatically say no. Generally, people are saying, I get it, it makes sense, I understand. Most clients are prepared to pay £500 for a level like this because they're paying a coach potentially that level, and they're not getting this amount of support and help to be able to move the business forward. So you're saying, well, what size of businesses are we talking about, Ainsley, here? Well, we've had accountants that are delivering this for people who are just over the VAT threshold. Ideally, I would have thought it's about the 250 to 5 million mark, but we are seeing firms deliver it to those in the 50 to the kind of 80 to 100K mark as well. It's more about the profit improvement, the mindset of the business owner, what they're looking to achieve. And, you know, as accountants, we can't prejudge. We've got to actually try and understand, is this something that they're looking for or not? If the client's saying, yeah, absolutely, let's move forward, within Clarity, you can create that financial plan at the click of a button, so we can effectively create it on a historic or straight line basis, sucking the data in from QuickBooks or Xero or Sage Online. If you're not using any of those three, you can enter the data manually too. So if you just want to take the data from Iris or whatever other package you're using, TaxFiler or you know, KPM or whatever, you can take that data. It's 17 numbers for 2 accounting periods. It's really fast to enter that data. It's not a trauma. Obviously, with the API, it's easier to pull the data automatically, which it does every night, or you can create a call. But effectively, what we've done is we've used these to be able to plot across with a client what we've just agreed with them and discussed with them. And what we can do in here is we can change those numbers really, really fast. So we can apply fixed amounts, percentage amounts, copy them, remove values, apply it to date ranges. So within a very short period of time, we're able to get through and, sorry, my user's stuck here. We can quickly be able to see how we can help the client across the entire P&L budget. And probably I would say 30 minutes in here is going to be sufficient for you to be able to create a really decent 12-month plan. So it gives you the ability to do this much more for more of your clients, probably at a price point that they're more willing to pay. Now, we can also check that from a cash flow perspective. There's nothing automagical here. It's pure, simple accounting and maths. We're taking the opening cash position. We're looking at the profit, the operating profit. We're then plotting the movements in the balance sheet, and then you can make adjustments for non-P&L items to be able to really hone in this budget. And you can do this as a closing cash, or you can provide for tax and do as free available cash, however you want to work as a firm. But it's a theoretical cash flow rather than a rolling cash flow projection. It's looking at the business model. Is it making sense? Is it throwing out any wobblies? Is there any areas that we need to be focusing on, or do we need to do funding? If you do need funding, we've got a funding plan, a working paper for you to be able to help the client get the best rates and get the best chance of success with funding. And we do have an API with Capitalize where you can go straight to a go-to-market search that doesn't affect your client's credit score. Sometimes this is a dummy account, so sometimes the API doesn't, loading questionnaire. It's effectively 6 or 7 questions that you get to ask and then do a compare the market search, which doesn't actually hit the client's credit score. So you can then use that to go back to the existing bank or broker, or if you want to use Capitalize as regulators, brokers, you can use those too and be involved as little or as much as you want. On an ongoing basis, we've got financial performance review here. So this helps you and probably obviates the need for management reporting for a large chunk of your clients. Yes, you are going to still have clients who need management packs. But for a lot of clients, you probably won't need to do management reporting because you'll be able to use Clarity's financial performance review to take that off your hands. And effectively, what we're looking to do here is compare budget versus actual. And in conjunction with the agenda systems, which help the team understand if there's a variance, is it because the client's done stuff that they shouldn't have done? Have they done stuff that they shouldn't be doing? Is what we thought were going to work didn't work? Do we need to is the plan cookie and we need to change the plan? So it gives them those questions to be able to drill in with the client to understand what's happening here, and for the clients to be able to understand what's going on in their numbers. So for example, here we're down 8K, so it'll be like, what's happening in here? What didn't we do, or what's happened, or why is it going wrong? You can do this financial performance review on a monthly or a quarterly basis, depending on how you're working with the client. We suggest probably longer meetings on the numbers in detail on a quarterly basis, and then shorter meetings monthly to go through an overview of those numbers. Now, this is probably an accountant's tool, so it's more for you, not for the client. For the client, we've kind of gone simplicity, back full circle with those 7 key numbers. And this is an area you might want to review with them more on a monthly basis. So again, full circle on those 7 key numbers, what they were supposed to do, what they did do, what's happened, why has it happened. You can show where the numbers have been calculated from if you need to, if the client's going, that can't be true. And you can also show more detail. And, if we've got a catch up, we needed to do extra to move forward, where are we as we're going? Now, this looks horrendous because it's in the past, but it does build month by month by month. So you're able to help the client if you want to use this. Potentially, you might just want to stick at that 7 key numbers review. And on a final, to show you, there's a lot in here. I agree, I've thrown it at you, but I'm just showing you how practically we can help clients understand where they are now, where they could get to, what the gap is, create a plan to close the gap, and then measure and monitor the results versus the plan, and getting technology to do that heavy lifting so you can spend your time on having the meetings, not on doing all the groundwork to be able to make this come true. And the last thing that we have is an ability to kind of rebuild Trello or a T-card system if you're an older accountant, to be able to manage your pipeline from an advisory perspective or from a funding perspective. You can edit this and change the flow, and there's some automation built in here so that we're understanding what's happening to see who's moving along and who's not. And if, for example, you wanted to build little T-cards for each of your service lines as well, you can understand which clients in which month and what they need to be doing going forward. And you can filter it by who's working on them and by the firm's departments or whatever else grade of clients. So it gives you that added flexibility to be able to see from a high level view who's doing what and where they are. Good. I'm going to stop there, Andrew. So I appreciate that's been record speed, but hopefully it gives people an understanding and practical understanding of how they need to do to deliver each of these areas. And of course, you don't have to use Clarity to do this. You can do this in other tools as well. I'm just giving you the kind of the meat to the bones to be able to introduce a more scalable, repeatable advisory offering that more of clients are saying yes to.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks very much, Ainsley. Has anybody got any specific questions that they would like to ask? If you have, either just speak out, or put in the chat. Either's fine. If not, I've got a couple. Just go looking back at some of those. Some of the parts of Clarity aims, you talk about EBITDA percentages, gross profit, financial plans, a lot of numeric pieces in there. What's your sort of view on data quality? I mean, surely it isn't the case that for advisory to be at its best, you've got to have very good data quality?
Oh, 100%. So on an ongoing basis, to be able to advise a client, you need that data to be good to go. But to get started with a conversation, it's an illustrative conversation. And so it's more about having that opening conversation. Now, if we're seriously worried about the underlying data set, so if a client's taken off zero off your hands, or they're doing zero themselves, and we know even with zero, they're probably making a mess of it, and we don't feel comfortable in that data quality, we can always use year-end data, because the year-end data will be correct to start having that conversation. What we see with clients is that they finally understand their numbers for the first time, and they're going, oh my God, I get now why they're wrong. And actually, can you do my bookkeeping, or can you take it off my hands, or how do we make sure this is accurate and up to date? Because I now get why I might need to have more accurate data. But to start the conversation, the data is always right at year end. And for most businesses, that's a good starting point anyway to have that conversation. If you're comfortable in the data, we can have it on live data, but it shows the client the need for live data and up-to-date, accurate data. I had one accountant I was speaking to this morning who got started on this with client doing their own bookkeeping, and 3 months in, the client agreed to then hand over the bookkeeping because the conversations they were having were restricted because the underlying data wasn't fantastic. So it doesn't mean that you can't get started. It just means to do real proper help, we do need better data, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, it also shows how advisory can actually create other opportunities that are equally to the more traditionally compliance space, isn't it? So it works. Yeah, it brings a whole circle round, doesn't it, between compliance, advisory, compliance, and you can leverage off both. I think, which I think is quite good. I think as well. I mean, certainly from what I've seen out, I think it's when you're looking at tools like Clarity, it's quite to see how straightforward delivering advisory can actually be. It's not something we should be, as accountants, we should be afraid of. But I think a lot of firms will say, well, yeah, I get what you're saying, but how do I get my team on board? How do I build that confidence?
Yeah, I mean, I think what I've shown you today is the platform. There's a lot of support that we do from an educational perspective. And for the team, it's more educational, not on how to use the platform, because you can see it's straightforward. It kind of fits the way we work. The education that we more tend to give is around mindset. It's around how to speak to a small business owner. It's about what their challenges and really what they're looking for and how to help them and how we can have better conversations with them and how we can make that sale. Now, it's really important to understand that professional services are generally bought, not sold. And again, if we understand that, it takes the pressure off the team. Because if we can show the client the way, they're going to buy rather than us being forced to be good salespeople, which we're not. So this is about how do we bring the client with us so that they can understand that they want to say yes, rather than us having to force a sale. And again, when the team, like at KPMG, we wouldn't go to a meeting without 4 people probably in the room. We'd have the partner who's there to look pretty and solve any crises that might have come up or to chip in if something goes pear-shaped. The senior manager would have led the meeting. The assistant manager would be there to learn and to be able to take the meeting on the next time. And then the junior's there to take notes so that they're building their education. Now, I know at a smaller firm, we can't throw 4 people at every meeting, but we can certainly bring another person to a meeting so that we're helping them understand and build their confidence in seeing it being done and seeing the reaction. And so there's lots of ways that we can get the team on board. But generally speaking, I have firms that just chuck juniors in in the deep end here, and they bumble their way through a meeting, but they still get to a good solution point. The client doesn't know how it's supposed to go, and they're getting a lot more than they are currently getting, probably if we're just talking about their accounts. So as long as people do the education and follow a rough process, they are able to have at least a better meeting than they would have been having anyway. So I wouldn't, yeah, it's much easier than people think to get the team on board.
Yeah, that's good. Has anybody got any other questions? I'm quite conscious we've gone a little bit over time. So if anybody's got any more questions, we can do them very quickly now. Or if not, I'll wrap things up. And thanks very much, Ainsley, for sparing us the time to go through how easy business advisory actually is to do in practice. Hopefully, those on the call have got something to go away from and learn something. Those that are doing advisory, that they've got something new to make some new ideas, or maybe look at the tool or whatever it may be, but something to help make advisory easier for them and for their practice, whatever path they choose, whether that's a Clarity path or one of the other tools in the market. It's as you said, there's a number of tools that can help things. So with that, thanks, Ainsley, and thank you everyone for attending.
Thank you.
As we said at the beginning, it'll be recorded. You'll get you got a link to the recording, so you can watch again at your leisure, and if you want to do so. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks, David. Yeah, look forward to hopefully seeing you all again.